Hello, my name is Jerith Noguera, and I'm going to present three African countries: Sudan, South Sudan, and Madagascar. Its official name is Republic of the Sudan. The name Sudan comes from the Arabic Land of the Blacks. This is the flag of Sudan. Each color of the flag has a meaning. Red represents socialism and progress. White, purity and optimism. Black represents the name of the country and its people. And green is the representation of Islam. This is the coat of arms of Sudan. At the center, there is a secretary bird, which is common in the territory. Along with the bird, there is a Mahdi shield, a representation of the Mahdi, which I will explain forward. Also, there are two scrolls written in Arabic, one upper and one below. The upper one says, "Victory is ours," Sudan's motto. And below says, Republic of the Sudan. Sudan is located in the northeastern of Africa, bordering on the north Egypt, the Red Sea, Eritrea, and Ethiopia on the east, South Sudan on south, Central African Republic on the southwest, Chad by the west, and Libya on the northwest. Its capital city is Khartoum. Its land is mainly composed of plains, plateaus, and especially deserts, which are located in most of the northern area of the country, which are part of the Sahara Desert. Also, the Nile River runs from south to north in the east central part of the country. According to the CIA World Factbook, there are many ethnic groups, and most of them are nomadic communities. However, the population is divided in three: Arabs, Muslims, non-Arabs, and non-Muslims. From these three groups, the most predominant one is the Arab, which composed of the 70% of the population. Sudan's history can be considered a long one. It started around 2600 BC, when the Egyptians invaded Nubia, what is now Sudan, and their culture was spread among the inhabitants in this territory. In the 6th century, Christian missionaries arrived in the territory and spread Christianity among its inhabitants. However, in the 7th century, Arabs invaded the territory and spread Islam. By the early of the 19th century, the Egyptian Ottoman Empire invaded Sudan. During this period, a viceroy of Egypt made negotiations with capital-rich nations to finance his projects to the modernization of Egypt and Sudan. Also started a campaign against the slave trade. But these actions provoke a social and an economical crisis. In 1881, a religious Muslim declares himself as Mahdi, which means the divinely guided one, and started a movement called Mahdiya. The aim of this movement was to restore Islam to its principles and traditions. As a way to save Sudan for Egypt, Britain sent the General Charles Gordon. However, he was massacred along with his soldiers, and the Egyptian army by the Mahdi followers. By 1898, an Anglo-Egyptian expedition led by the General Horatio Kitchener invade Sudan and defeat the Mahdist forces. Subsequently, Great Britain and Egypt governed jointly Sudan, and it was declared an Anglo-Egyptian condominium, in which establishes Egypt shares the governing role, but Britain has full control over Sudan. The agreement brought modernization to Sudan, and Sudanese people were respected. By January 1st, 1956, Sudan obtained its independence. However, this was short. Political and social differences led the country to several civil wars and coup d'etat. In January 2005, the civil war between the government and Southern Sudan ended with the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. The agreement provided a permanent ceasefire, 6 years of autonomy for Southern Sudan, and a referendum for independence of Southern Sudan. By July 2011, Southern Sudan, or better say, South Sudan, obtained its independence. But still, some border areas are still in dispute. By the end of 2018, protests began against the president of Sudan because of an economic crisis in the country. By April 2019, the military ousts the president of Sudan and started a 2-year transition civilian rule. According to the CIA World Factbook, Sudan is the least developed and poorest country in the world. Additionally, Sudan has been struggling for stabilizing its economy due to the constant social conflicts and South Sudan secession. The most important resource in Sudan is petroleum, because the government receives great revenues from this resource. However, in 2011, after South Sudan's secession, the majority of the oil reserves are in the borders of South Sudan, affecting Sudan's economy. Also, Sudan is a leading producer of gum arabic, a substance used for pharmaceuticals, candies, adhesives, among others. Before I start to explain its government, it is important to say that the information found about Sudan's government is in constant change due to the Sudan's president overthrow. Sudan's constitution is based on the 2005 interim constitution, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, but is in the process of being changed. The type of government is a presidential republic, composed by a chief of state and a head of government. These positions are vacant at the moment. Yet, a military and a civilian alliance are ruling the country. Sudan has many languages. However, 2 are the official ones, Arabic and English. Also, not only are the official ones, but also are the working languages since 2005 interim constitution. This means that Arabic and English are used for business with its neighbor countries and for international organizations in which Sudan is member. But Arabic is used by the majority of the population, commerce, and the government. Sudanese people have been traditionally focused on nomadic communities and are based on a lineage of male relatives and ancestors. Also, the members of a lineage act accordingly to their interests by safeguarding the territory or forming significant ties with other families by marriage. Additionally, depending on the family ties, can determine how they live, work opportunities, and marriage opportunities for the future. In terms of religion, Islam is predominant on the territory because of Arab influences, and this coexists with traditional beliefs. Sudanese literature was in form of oral literature and poems. By tradition, Arabic is the most used for their literature. Their topics are about Islam and African Arab cultural heritage. Since English became an official language, Sudanese literature has been influenced by Western literature. Its official name is the Republic of South Sudan. South Sudan is the newest country in the world since 2011. This is the flag of South Sudan. Each color has an important meaning for the country. Black represents South Sudanese people. Red represents their struggle for their independence. Green represents the natural wealth and agriculture of the country. White represents the fight for their independence and peace over the nation. Blue represents the Nile River, a source of life in the country. And the yellow star represents hope, determination, and unity. This is the coat of arms of South Sudan. At the center, there is an African eaglefish bearing a shield and crossed spears. The eagle represents strength, resilience, and vision. The shield represents the protection over the new nation. Below the eagle and the shield, there are two scrolls. One says South Sudan's motto, justice, prosperity, liberty, and the other scroll says the official name of the country. South Sudan is located in the east central part of Africa, bordering Sudan on the north, Ethiopia on the east, Kenya, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo on the south, and the Central African Republic on the west. The capital city is Juba. Its terrain is composed of plains on the north and the central part of the country, until the southern highlands bordering Uganda and Kenya. According to the CIA World Factbook, Africans composed the majority of the population, followed by many ethnic groups. The most prominent group are the Dinka. After Sudan gained its independence in 1956, the purpose was to fully integrate the southern region into the new political system. However, the social differences between Sudan's government and the southern region led to two prolonged civil wars. The second civil war between the southern region and the government of Sudan ended with a comprehensive peace agreement in January 2005. As I said before, in the history of Sudan, this agreement provided a permanent ceasefire, 6 years of autonomy for southern Sudan, and a referendum for the independence of southern Sudan. By July 2011, Southern Sudan, or better say, Republic of South Sudan, gained its independence. Since its independence, South Sudan has been struggling with good governance, nation building, and controlling the fights between ethnic groups and rebels. Also, there are still unresolved issues with Sudan since the country's secession. For example, the oil revenue sharing, which Sudan and South Sudan have several disagreements, and this affects the economy of both countries, and border demarcations, in which the Abyei region is still today in dispute. According to the CIA World Factbook, South Sudan is among the poorest and least developed countries in the world. Its industry and infrastructure are undeveloped, poverty is widespread, and the constant fights inside the country and the prolonged civil wars are making the country difficult to improve its economy. However, the country has abundant natural resources. However, as the same as Sudan, petroleum is the most important resource in South Sudan. The government receives great revenues from this important natural resource, but it was not exploited after the end of the Second Civil War. Due to a lack of refineries, South Sudan and Sudan made an oil revenue sharing agreement in which South Sudan pumped petroleum to Sudan in order to be refined and share the revenues by exporting oil. South Sudan's current constitution is from 2011 and is a transitional one. It is composed by a chief of state who is also the head of government. These positions are represented by a president who has a period of 4 years. South Sudan has many languages due to the cultural diversity in the country, but Arabic and English are the official languages. Before South Sudan's independence, English was the dominant one since 1972, and its preference was made clear in the transitional constitution in 2011, in which English was declared as the official working language, meaning that English is used for business with its neighbor countries and for international organizations which the country is member. Also is the language of instruction for all levels of education. South Sudan has many ethnic groups, and each group has its own customs and traditions. African beliefs are predominant in the country, even among the minority of Christians. The literature in South Sudan before its independence was shared with Sudan, but after its independence, there is a high illiteracy in the country. Therefore, South Sudanese use oral traditions as a way to express their history, folklore, myths, and even how to deal with certain life events. The country is known as the Great Red Island because of the different components that make its soil to be red. This is the flag of Madagascar. Each color has an important meaning for the country. The colors white and red represents the Merina, an important ethnic tribe in Madagascar. Also, the colors represents the origins of the Malagasy people, who arrived from Southeast Asia. The color green represents the Hova, another ethnic tribe that represents the peasant commoners and influence on Madagascar's independence. This is the coat of arms of Madagascar. It contains a map of the island set in a white circle and the head of a zebu, the most predominant animal on the island. Also, red and green rays emanating from above, representing the sun. And below can be read Madagascar's motto, Love, Fatherland, Progress. Madagascar is an island located in the southern hemisphere in the Indian Ocean, facing the east coast of Africa, separated by the Mozambique Channel with a width of 400 kilometers. Its capital city is Antananarivo. The island has a volcanic origin and consists of 3 zones: a coastal strip with impressive cliffs at the east, plains at the center in which can be found a volcano summit, and low plains and plateaus with impressive massifs at the west. Malagasy people are divided into 20 ethnic groups approximately. Also, it's common to see women under 20 years old getting married and having more than 4 children, meaning that having a family is the norm. Also, it's usual to see child marriage. Madagascar's history starts between 350 and 550 AD. Large-scale settlers from Indonesia arrived on the island. By the early of the 7th century, the island attracted Arab and Persian traders, and centuries later, African immigrants arrived on the island. Between the 15th and 7th centuries, Portuguese navigators settled on the island and named it as the Isle of Saint Lawrence. In 1896, French conquered Madagascar and made it a colony. In 1960s, Madagascar won its independence. However, there were political differences, and this led to a coup d'etat. Subsequently, in 1975, it was elected a new head of state. After 2 long presidential periods from the president shown before, in 2002 was elected a new president, and subsequently a second presidential term in 2006. However, in 2009, this president resigned and handed the power to the military, and it was conferred the presidency to a new person. The international community condemned this unconstitutional transfer of power, causing of being suspended from several organizations and financial aid, becoming the country isolated. By 2014, a new president was elected and returned the constitutional order in the country, also left the suspensions made to the country. Agriculture is one of the main resources in Madagascar, especially vanilla, which produces the 80% of vanilla in the world. Additionally, tourism is important because of the unique biodiversity of the island and the rich cultural heritage. Based on its constitution from 2010, its type of government is a democratic republic. It is composed by a chief of state and a head of government. Its official languages are French and Malagasy. However, during his second presidency, English was declared as an official language in order to improve relations with its neighbor countries. But by 2010, English was removed. However, English is still increasing. Malagasy culture has mostly Indonesian influences, but also it has African, Arabic, and Islamic cultural influences. Additionally, Malagasy are very traditional, and this influence on their lifestyle. Family and marriage are important for them. However, if someone decides not to have a family or get married, it will not be well seen by society. The majority of the population practices traditional beliefs, which are religious ceremonies that involve the dead and their spirits. In its literature, oral tradition is the most used to demonstrate poetry, public discourse, and storytelling in Malagasy. This research may serve as a reference for English teachers in their TFL classes or for EFL students, because it shows the effects of colonialism, the cultural background of these English-speaking countries, and the use of English in these countries. If you have any doubt or comment, please comment below. I will answer as soon as I can. Goodbye.